Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I can naturally tap into that. Like, I mean, it's something that is already in us, like DMT
Yeah.
and certain
Yeah.
that euphoric feeling. I feel like I could just like sometimes naturally tap into that. Like I it's weird because I felt it last time when I was at drill. It was so weird. I was like, am I high? But I wasn't high. My
Yeah.
frequency was just vibrating high.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, damn, this
And
shit.
that's literally that. Yeah, that'd be my thought too. Cause I'm like, am I? I'm like, no, I ain't had nothing. It's just, yeah, that frequency.
Yeah, vibes was just right. I was just like, and I seen it too. It was like everything was just like, I don't know. The way I see it, it's like everything just flows. Like everything is just in tune. And I feel like I'm just so immersed in the moment that it's nothing can go wrong in that moment. Like I say the right things, I do the right things. I know exactly what to do. There's no doubt, there's no second guessing. It's just like boom. I know what to say, I know what to do, I know what's about to happen. I'm in control, not in control, but I'm aware of the effect I'm having on the environment and it's conscious. And I'm consciously aware of it. So it's a vibe. It's a
Feel
vibe.
that. I feel that.
Whole vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I ain't gonna lie, after we got off the phone, I was like, I ain't gonna lie, that gave me such a boost of energy. Like after I finished like folding, washing clothes and stuff, I went to the gym. I got a quick workout in and yeah, I was just feeling good, you know. Got a workout in, showered, I did my little protein drink and whatnot. And I was just feeling good that whole time. Like the energy was just high, and it still is right now. Cause I'm just like, dang. I was like, what can I do with this energy right now? Like I thought about maybe I wanted to create something, like I wanted to make a video, but I was like, nah. That's not it. Not right now. I got ideas, but that's not what I need to be doing right now. So I just sat in it. I just enjoyed it. And yeah, I was just reserving most of that energy for this right here. So I feel like this topic we're about to talk about is powerful, especially with the energy off of the frequency of what you experienced. And then it's like sharing that experience. And I'm always at a high level. I feel like the conversation we're going to have tonight is going to be epic. It's going to be epic.
yeah. Yeah, I think after I was because I was just so excited and I was looking, like I think got to share that energy. Even my girlfriend, she was like, I'm living through you right now. She was just like, we met Les Brown today.
For real, that's that right
But
there.
I was like, yeah, I gotta eat something because my energy is just gone. Like I was just like, I ain't got it right now. But I ate and sat. And then I was like, you know what? Another thing too, I was like, this energy that I'm feeling, this like high from meeting him and just the networking in general, I'm like, let me sit in this because imagine this being my everyday life, like me just meeting people like this. You know what I mean? Like that's so I'm working on increasing my capacity for that because I'm like, I mean, it's Les Brown. Don't get me wrong, it's Les Brown, but it's like he is just another person. You know what I mean? Like he's just had the tools, the resources, and the network, and he's doing his thing and has been doing it for years. But it's like I can see it being like a regular thing, just meeting people and
On top of that, you know what else I could see? I could
mm,
see Zoom calls like this and offers being on the table and negotiating different offers and deals. And all I could hear, I don't know where this came from, but all I could hear in my mind was send the contract. Send the contract. Like, yeah, just send it on through. Yeah. Like sitting on Zoom calls, negotiating different deals and, you know, booking engagements and stuff like that. People are calling your phone saying like, "Hey, we
You
would."
talking about me? I thought you was talking about you. I thought you was talking about you stepping into
Nah,
coaching.
this is the collective. This is the collective of everything. Like, even for me, I'm speaking from my perspective too. Like, people calling and asking, like, "Hey, we would love to host you and your podcast on our show." And then not only that, we're both getting our own individual calls as well, as far as like people saying, "Hey, we want to book you for this woman speaking event, or we want to book you for this male speaking event right here because of the value that y'all provide." And then it's like, well, hey, let's talk numbers. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, send the contract on through, sign it. Hey, on the flight to wherever we need to be to speak to whoever we need to speak to and add value to a group of people. So on top of meeting great people, like going to events like this, like going to brunch at the Ritz Carlton, that just sounds so amazing. You're networking, connecting with high value people, people at high levels or at similar levels, and then you're just booking engagements too. So it's just like a beautiful life. It's a beautiful life.
Yeah, I'm excited. All about taking a chance.
Yeah, yeah. All for taking a chance. But you
Mm,
know what? This speaks perfectly to what we're talking about tonight. The difference between doing the work and being the work. And you
mm,
know what? I was thinking about a couple of different things too, as far as like the title goes. And I was thinking like being doing the work and getting a result versus being the work or doing the work and being the result, right?
right,
A lot of us want to see a physical, tangible result from the work and effort that we're putting in. But what if it's something that you can't see, but it's something that you are becoming? I
right,
think that is the true reward in everything that we do is seeing who we become as a result instead of seeing what we get physically as a result. Like, yeah, everybody wants to get paid, everybody wants to create their life and all of these great things. But the thing about it is, you have to be the person who is able to maintain the lifestyle that you envision for yourself. Because it's one thing to dream about it and bask in the essence of it, but to become the person who is capable of maintaining that life is a totally different work ethic. It's a totally different um thing. It's a totally different energy, you know. And I think it's important to really differentiate between the two because a lot of us can get caught up in the results of what we do. And I've been a bit not a victim, but I've been somebody who's done that too, who has gotten a certain result, but I just didn't know how to catapult or like carry on from the result that I got, right? Because I went viral on TikTok years ago, like maybe 2, 3 years ago. I went crazy viral. And then I was just like, dang, I didn't know how to capitalize on that virality. And I had to take a step back and realize, okay, what was I doing when this thing took off, right? And then I had to realize who I had become as a result of what had happened. Like, what was the work that I was doing up until this point? Because the expectation wasn't for me to go viral; it just happened that way. But the thing that I wasn't taking account of was who I became as a result of leading up to that point. And I think once we start looking at more of who we're becoming, like going viral doesn't really mean anything. It's like, well, that's just who I am. It's just now more people are now recognizing that, and you can keep the momentum of that going more. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
That's real. Um, I think it's a good way to look at the becoming because I think in this day and time, like I feel like you hear it more, like becoming and all that. Like it's trendy now. And I feel like looking at it from that standpoint of like, I am I am the work, like not doing the work. When I think of that, I think of the external, like you said, the results and these actions, the things, well, not the actions, but the results in the things that happen after I learn a lesson or overcome something or whatever the case may be. And I think it's honestly, when I think about that, it's almost like we're giving power to the work. Like, and when we say the work, you know, it's like we really are the work. Like that is us. And if you think about it from that perspective, it's almost like, can you lose? Can you ever really fail if you are constantly becoming, if you are recognizing that you are the work, that you are learning in the peaks and the valleys, you know, with the wins and the lessons, all the things that accompany that. When relationships end or, you know, like transitions happen, you know, a lot of times a lot of people have this perspective, and that's just the conditioning of the brain, you know, psychology wise, our brain is built to look for problems, right? To see the negative in things. But if we look at it from the perspective of, I learned something, I got something of value, I grew, I expanded in some way, shape, or form, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, um, you know, and I talk a lot about like increasing our capacity for not only the losses, but also the wins, you know, increasing your capacity for receiving, because that's energetically. And once you realize that you are the work and that you're constantly in this, you know, we're constantly becoming, there's no like end goal, you know, like there's not a stop point unless we stop breathing, you know. So I think that shifts the idea of like failures or uh viewing things as like even wasted time or anything like that, because no, we're constantly evolving, we're constantly growing. So there's no way to lose if we're gaining something from it. And honestly, every experience that we have in life is has the a lesson for us, something in it, something in it for us. There's nothing in life that we can go through that is not meant for us to either like help us to level up or to help us learn something or to like test us in some way. But all of it gives us data, you know? So that's what I think about. It's like all I do is win.
Thanks. Nah, you know, you said something that's so key, and you talk about it often, which I love, and that's capacity, right? Having the capacity for more. And I think the beautiful thing about capacity is that not only does it open up more for you, but it allows you to let go of the things that don't serve you anymore. And I think that is the increase in capacity, is that you understand what served you at a period in time, but now you know that that no longer serves you. And so you make space for more great things to come. And so that increases your capacity because the new space that you now have, it can hold more weight versus the old capacity that you once had. Like it held up to the capacity in which it was supposed to hold. And now this new capacity is holding up even more weight. It's kind of like storage in your phone, right? Like if you get an iPhone, it holds up to like what, like 250 gigabytes at first or something like that. But as you continue on, like you gotta buy storage essentially, right? Because that storage is it can only hold so much until you need to add additional storage. And that's when you get like the 2 terabytes. And now it's like your storage has increased and expanded, which allows you to open up more space for better things to come. It allows you to grow more, it allows you to evolve more. And it kind of speaks to that level of who you becoming as a result, because you get to meet great people, and it's like your energy is a no. I'll take that back. The people that you meet are an indicator of this newfound capacity and this new energy that you're embodying right now. It's evident. It's like there's no way that you can meet the amazing people that you meet if you wasn't energetically aligned to be in that space to be able to meet those amazing people. And that right there is just evidence. Like, I don't know if you really want to say, but I'm just kind of queuing you up for it. But yeah, that's just evidence right there. Like, that's just the first level. And it's like, it's letting you know that your capacity has increased because you are now able to sit in rooms with like-minded individuals to be able to share in the capacity in which you have increased, and everybody can see that, like, wow, you're adding value to people at a high level. And it's like, wow, it it may not feel like it right now, but you've reached a whole new level. We've all reached a whole new level, and your environment is evident of that.
Yeah, that's big. And I think, that's a good point too, is because a lot of us stay in environments because of that comfort, of that, the ego trying to protect us, wanting to keep us safe. And so we sometimes avoid the rooms because because we're familiar with the room we're in, you know. Um, and this journey that I've been on of being an entrepreneur and wanting to be a speaker and, be a coach and all these things. And, just being on stages, like, it's led me in spaces that today, I got to meet Les Brown. Like, I mean, I'm still processing it. It was so delicious. He is such a beautiful spirit. And, I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. I definitely look forward to working with him in some way, shape, or form, in some capacity. So, but that wouldn't have happened unless I got out of my comfort zone and, invested the way I invested, like, had people questioning, like, should I be joining another coaching program? And if I would have not joined, I would have not had that opportunity, because I wouldn't have been going to that business meeting. I wouldn't have been, in that room. And it just speaks to, again, like, if you stay in the same rooms, you're gonna keep at this, like, you're not gonna go anywhere. And the thing is, I feel like we all have something. Whether it's, even if you're not trying to be an entrepreneur, like, maybe it's an idea, maybe it's a hobby, maybe it's like something, it could just be, it could be a message, maybe to be a speaker or something. But we all have something within us that's like, it's like a mission, it's a passion, it's a purpose more than anything. But I think sometimes, because when you get put in rooms like this, and this is how I'm realizing that I'm expanding, is because the bigger rooms that I keep getting put in, I'm getting put in rooms where I keep getting more and more permission. Like, I'm getting more and more, like, audacious, because I'm in rooms with people that, you know, charge 80,000 an hour to speak, just to give their wisdom, to tell their story. And it's like, I didn't have that growing up, you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't in rooms like that, or I didn't know people that, like, really got to experience that type of thing. So, let alone to give permission. So it's like, man, to go from where I first started trying to offer free services for the level of coaching that I do, and how passionate I am, to $100 for a month of coaching. And shout out to my first few clients, because, like, listen, like, it's crazy. Like, I would not charge that level anymore. However, the expansion, the capacity has increased, for receiving, because I didn't have that energetic alignment to charge the way I charge now. But I know the level of worth. I know, and again, it only happens because we expand ourselves. And sometimes this just happens when you take that chance. Even if you don't have people around you that give you permission, give yourself permission.
Facts, facts. Something came to mind as you were speaking, and I got this from Myron Golden. Which, by the way, that's next, right? That's next.
I already know.
He says that disruption follows intention, and I find that to be so fascinating because it's true. It's evident. As soon as you create an intention, there's a disruption in the pattern in which you're thinking, right? This is just the way that I see it. When you creating intention to move and evolve to a new level, there's a disruption in the pattern in which you're thinking, because it's neural pathways, right? For those in psychology, it's neuroplasticity, and essentially your brain operates off of these neural pathways. And whenever you're introduced to something different, it creates a new neural pathway, which allows you to think in a way that you've never thought before. And so when you get comfortable in a certain space, in doing a certain thing in a certain way, as soon as you create the intention to create something new or to do something new, there's a disruption, because it's like, oh, I've never done this before, or I've never been here before, oh, I've never. And the thing about it is, when you cause disruption, it not only causes disruption for your life, but it causes a disruption for everybody that is in your vicinity, in your circle, in your family, in your social groups, right? Because now everybody is raising the question of, why are you doing it? Why are you spending so much money? Why are you getting these coaching programs? But the thing is, they don't come from those environments where those things are normal. The environments that you were in and that I'm in all the time, that is normal. Like, people are in these coaching programs and spending thousands of dollars in these programs because they understand the value that they are getting, because they're growing and they're evolving. And they understand that they need to be in these rooms in order to keep growing and expanding their capacity for more, because this process is never ending. A lot of people get to a certain point and they plateau, they stay there. And when they see somebody else doing something that they're connected to that goes beyond the plateau in which they've reached, they have the audacity to question why, when really they need to be asking why not. Because growth is never ending. I don't care how old you are, I don't care how young you are, I don't care how much money you have. Growth is almost a natural state of being. It's natural to want to grow and evolve more. And everybody, I feel like, wants to, but nobody knows how to. And therefore, they just live their lives how they live their lives. And this is what anybody who needs to hear this right now. You may be like so like obsessed with your own growth. And then you have people around you that are trying to tell you, like, why are you so obsessed with growth? Why are you always reading books? Why are you always listening to these podcasts? Why are you always speaking about growth and evolution when all we want to talk about is what's happening in the news, or what's happening in the sports, or what Kiki did over here last week? Like, yeah, whatever. Let's get to the root of what's really going on, right? That's what these conversations are for. And that's what these environments are for. Like, it's cool to have that small talk and things like that, because you know what I'm saying, that's just the buildup. But at some point, we got to get down to what really matters and talk about what's really important. And the only way you get that level is by surrounding yourself in the right environments and creating the intention for the disruption. Because I promise you, the more you create that disruption, the more you create that intention, the more higher you're going to go. The higher you're going to go, and the better rooms you are going to be in. And here's the thing about it, right? With being in these rooms, you never know how it's going to happen. Like, you probably didn't expect to be in the morning meetup. You didn't expect that. But your level of growth attracted that to you, because something in you needed to be in that environment, because you saw the value in it. But nonetheless, you've created a habit of being in these environments. I've created the habit of being in these environments too, because it's like, if I see it, it's like, nah, I gotta go. If I see something happening, like a conference or a seminar or a mastermind, I'm going to that, because there's something valuable in it for me. I don't care about no price, right? Warren Buffett said it best: everybody knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. What do you value? Truly, what do you value? And I
Myself.
ain't
Me.
that.
Yeah, but no, like, especially I like that, the disrupt and the intention, because when you were saying that, like, what immediately came to mind was the weeks that led up to me resigning, and it took up so much space, so much mental space, emotional space, And it was always like, can I do this? Can I do this? Like, is this something I could do? I was just asking the same question like 1,000 different ways, until I made the decision. And when I set that intention and was just like, you know what? Yeah, no, like we can't pay this cost anymore. That is when I was able to exhale. That was when that disruption happened, because then it immediately shifted from, rather than not can I do this, because it's like I'm doing it, right? And then all like I was able to see all the stuff that was over here. Like I'm like, wow, I can see me having more time for my business. I can see me being able to have more capacity to help more people, to, do the things I want to do, to work on my speaking career, like all of these things. But I didn't have the capacity to do those things, or to even really sit in it and imagine doing those things, until I
Mm,
set that intention and just, that had that disruption.
mm,
So that's so important. I think, a lot of times like the very thing that we fear and the decision that we tend to not make is the very one that's going to get us to that next level.
mm,
And that's so funny because like when I sat down at that meeting today, because it was just I was like the second person there initially. Um,
mm,
and so people like slowly trickled in, but it was like three of us. And one of the girls, she was like, yeah, like we're not gonna sit up here and talk about like love and hip hop and the like all the like other stuff that's happening in the world. Like we're gonna talk about business. We're gonna
mm,
talk about our goals. We're gonna talk about where we are in our business and how each of us can help one another. And I was like, I'm in the right place. Like this is it.
mm,
Like that community is different than any of and your girl done been in some rooms, right? Like, I done invested in some coaching programs, and they have all been great. Don't get me wrong, but like, I just think at this level that I am at, the way that they work in that community, the morning meetup, by the way, like it is just, it definitely takes things to another level. Not only the fact that they meet every day, Monday through Friday, but like reading the book together, and like people will literally like they don't let people shy away from shouting their business out. Like they help people to, figure out how to, um, to make their XYZ statement. Like I help, X do Y, whatever. Like they literally are like a family in there, and they help one another and support one another, and they keep each other accountable. And that's the biggest thing. They do challenges like, I mean, I ain't gonna get all into it, but it's just it's definitely like, and again, I'm only a week in. I'm just like, it has changed me just from this past week. So, even outside of meeting Les Brown, like but again, it just speaks to getting out that comfort zone and betting on yourself. I think that's really all it comes to. And just again, realizing that it's not about just doing the work, but becoming the work. Like you are the work. Like I said today, I was like, even when I coach people, transformation architect, right? But I'm not giving them anything new. Like the thing is, I'm pulling what is already there within them.
mm,
Like, I'm speaking in a way and asking questions in a way and doing, exercises with them in a way that pulls what's already within them out. It gives those pieces of themselves that they've suppressed for so long permission to be seen, to be heard. And therefore, that permission, it just ripple effects to the rest of their life. But a lot of us, especially as high achievers who have been like praised for doing things and for being roles for people, for serving, for people pleasing, right? Like it can be so hard to slow down. And I learned this for myself, right? Like I teach people to be selfish and to show up for themselves first. However, I still have to catch myself in my own pattern of becoming so like high achieving that I self-sacrifice, and I like get off of meditation or, you know, like whatever the case may be, where I'm not as intentional and I get into that like survival mode because I'm so driven and I'm like, okay, we gotta go, we gotta do these things. I have to catch myself. But it's like when you are in this constant state of growing, as I feel like we are in this environment, it's like you recognize though that's the name of the game. Like the peaks and the valleys. Like I am the work because that doesn't mean like I've learned these things and I don't never have them problems before. I don't never like struggle with boundaries. You know what I mean? Like it just shows up, and the more that we grow, the more rooms that we're put in, the more, you know, people that we meet may pull something out of us that it's just another test. It's just another opportunity for us to show up in the way to either show that, hey, like I'm learning to master this, I'm learning to master myself, or am I gonna succumb to old practices, you know, and old beliefs? And
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that some people don't, I guess, I don't know. I feel like maybe some people don't recognize. It's like something I realize, but one of my clients, like actually all my clients have been to where they're like, they get frustrated and they get critical of themselves and they judge themselves because they're like, I've come so far and why am I still struggling with this?
Mm.
Like, it doesn't really ever fully go away. You know what I mean? Like we get better at challenging it, we get better at reframing things, we get better at shifting the energy and transmuting it, but it don't fully ever go away. Like our inner child is still always going to be there. Like we may heal some aspects, right? But again, you may be introduced to another person or get a new relationship that trigger the hell out of you and bring you all the way back. And it's not really a bringing back, right? It's a new layer. We're onions, like we're just peeling layers. So yeah, that's kind of what I think about.
Yeah. Now I like that. I really did. I really like that. Like it's all in all, it's about awareness. Like you said, it never truly goes away, but your awareness of it increases. Cause at some point it's just an automatic operation. You're just operating on autopilot with this thing and you don't really fully understand it. But as you continue to progress and grow and evolve, you become more and more aware of that thing, and therefore you develop systems and processes and order of operations, and you become a greater version of yourself. And then you know how to counteract, or you understand how to use that, right? Because essentially it's an energy that you just don't know how to use yet. Like it can be used for anything. Like essentially, it's something that at first it's triggering, right? And it could send you down a spiral, or it could be something that is triggering and it allows you to transcend it. So everything that we experience really is just an allowance of transcendence. Like it allows us to go deeper with it. It allows us to evolve it. It allows us to see it for what it truly is and navigate our lives totally different than how we've been operating for the longest, right? And I did want to ask too, right? Because I, I got a question as far as like how do we go from like doing the work to actually being the work? Because like you said, I feel like it's so different when it's like you're doing the work over and over and over again, right? And then at some point you pivot and you realize that all the work that you've been doing is essentially a part of just your core, your essence. But I feel like when you're just doing the work constantly, you kind of forget the aspect of who you've become as a result of all the work that you've done. So, how does someone pivot from doing the work to actually being the work that they've been doing for so long?
Honestly, I feel like it's not, and you know, you could tell me if you disagree, but I don't feel like it's something that you can necessarily like do on purpose. Like I think it is just a one of the final like pillar in my coaching program is it's all about embodiment and integration. It's not something that you could be like, check this off a list, like, oh yeah, like we're gonna do this next. Okay, I'm embodied. I'm like I didn't, you know, I think it just happens. Because when I think about doing the work and getting um kind of hyper focused on doing the work, I think of back when I was still kind of lost, where I didn't recognize my own power and I was searching for things outside of me. Now, don't get me wrong, like I still be looking for stuff outside of me, but it's a different energy now. Like I'm like, oh, this is like, I feel like before it was more so I need this to like be whole almost. Like I needed these things to help me to feel that I was on the right path, that I was a good person, that I was like, it was just like I was giving my power away because I didn't recognize my power. So I kind of pedestalized all these external things, but it was what I needed to get to the space that I'm at now. And I think it just shifts. Like I just remember for so long, like I would ask myself questions like, how do you know if it's your intuition or if it's just right? Because like I was telling my friend today, I was like, I remember I would get a sign because I told my speaking coach about meeting Les Brown. And he was like, what? Like he was like, as if you needed another sign, right? And I'm like, I remember I used to like get a sign, but then I'd be like, nah, give me another sign. Cause like just in case, like I don't know if that's really a sign or if I'm just like creating it. You know what I mean? And I think one day, as much like I would think like, I want to get to that point of just knowing. I want to get to that point of and it just honestly it just happened. Like because I was doing the work and I don't like, and this is why I think it's important to know because it's not so much that doing the work is bad, right? Like I think that's the first phase. And then we get to the being the work and it just becomes a way of living. It just becomes what we are. And that shift of like feeling that internal empowerment, that internal like guide that kind of gets louder. Cause I think I remember before, like one of the biggest things was I would be like, how do I like I would have these questions even for basic stuff and I would just always have this doubt and I would be like, okay, I need to go to this person so I can get like validation or confirmation because I just wasn't trusting myself. And now I think the shift from doing the work and being the work for me was when I no longer went outside of myself first. And that's one thing I remember my old spiritual mentor, that's what she always used to say. She was like, if you're asking, she said, it's not bad to ask for, like wisdom or ask for someone else's like trusted opinion, right? But she said, if you're asking someone other than you first, she was like, you're wrong. And I used to always be like, okay, like, but I need the answer. Like, I need clarity. And now it makes sense now because it's like I check in with me first. I used to check in and ask people, like I would know, but I didn't have the confidence because I was still new to the work, right? Like I didn't have the confidence, so my knowing needed to be validated by other people. And even more than that, I think even I didn't even before I even recognized it and needed the validation, I was just like, I don't know. I don't know. I was telling myself I didn't know. And so that's why I needed all these like outside things. And I think the becoming it just shifts and it just happens. And it's such a beautiful thing because sometimes I don't know about you, you could tell me, but I know for me, I didn't recognize it until a little later. And I was like, oh, snap. Like, this is just a way of life. This is just how we are. This is just how we show up now. Like, we're confident. Don't get me wrong. I still be nervous. I was sweating my ass off today. Like, I think at some point I was like, yeah, I need to go home and shower. Like, I felt like I was so, it was just so wild. And it's so crazy because like, it's just, you don't sometimes don't recognize it. even after years of doing the work and being the work, sometimes people outside of you remind you, but I think when you are being the work, I think it's not that you need those reminders, like you're not seeking them. You already know, but sometimes we just need to be reminded rather than like seeking it because I don't know, if that makes sense. And I earlier I was talking with one of the gentlemen in the morning meetup, dope guy. He's a photographer, and we were talking, and he was asking me about my business, and I was telling him, and that's like one of my, things that I've slowly become more comfortable with, like just networking and things like that in person, especially. And he was like, it's crazy because I have some friends, he was like, that are like big dudes, and he's a skinnier framed guy, he's not like, trying to think, like he's not super skinny, but he's just smaller framed. And he was like, I got some big, like, like bulked up friends. And he was like, they had told me like, we're kind of intimidated by you. And he was like, what? Like, y'all are big dudes. Like, how are you intimidated?
Right.
And they were basically speaking to his level of groundedness and calmness. And they were basically saying, like, it's almost like that's the scary one, that's the intimidating one, because you never know like which way they're gonna go. Like, because even when they're activated, they can still be very calm. And he was like, I haven't met too many people that give me that energy. And he was like, but I'm watching you and I'm hearing you talk. And he was like, I see it. Like, I see what they're talking about now. And when he said, I was like, wow, because I was like, like, I mean, I know I have this level of authority when I speak.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those things. And again, I think when you become when you realize you become the work, that you are the work, you get put in rooms like that to make people see, like, to remind you who the fuck you are.
Nice.
And that's the thing, I think the journey, that's the difference, is like doing the work versus being the work, is you realize you recognize who the fuck you are. That's what this journey is all about. And every experience we have, positive or negative, whatever we deem it as, it's all to help us to come back to home, come back to ourselves, to learn more about ourselves. So
You know what though? I ain't gonna lie. What you're speaking to speaks to a level of identity shift too, as well. Because your identity shifts, and sometimes it shifts so fast that we don't recognize that. Because people are identifying us with the characteristics that we embody, but we don't necessarily identify with those characteristics because we've been doing it for so long that it's just a part of who we are. Like, I saw a video earlier before we got on here, right? And it was this girl, she was like in the gym talking about like her progress in the gym. And she's like, basically, you never see the growth that you get, the gains that you get, because you're always seeing yourself. But it's like once you start tracking your progress and start seeing like, okay, I've been doing this, I've been eating this, you actually start to recognize your growth. And even then, like people, they see you, like people that know you who haven't seen you in a while, see you and they be like, damn, bro, you done got, you know what I'm saying? You done got a little slimmer, you done got a little, you know what I'm saying, a little bulk on you. Like you're looking really good. And that's a different identity shift because you're like, really? I didn't recognize it, right? Because you're always doing the work. So that kind of leads me to another question too, is like, how does your identity shift when you transition from doing to being?
I'm trying to remember my thought. I was about to say a thought about something you just said. And it left me. And I'm mad because I thought it was a good thought, but I forgot it. Um, okay, say your question again.
How does your identity, let me read it again.
Oh, before you ask it again, I remember. When you were talking about how fast sometimes the identity, shifts.
Mhm.
I was like, you know what? That really is so true. And you know how you can tell when you're in the wrong rooms or when you need to kind of like shift your environment and the people you're around is because when you go through those shifts, the people that are who you think you are. Like when you shift like that, because sometimes what you said yes to yesterday is something that you're like, this is unacceptable today. But to the person that's not energetically aligned would be like, well, who the fuck are you? Like we was just doing this yesterday, you know? But rather than who are you? Like who do you think you are? It's like when you're in alignment with other people that understand the growth and the level and the shifts and just how quickly sometimes they can happen, right? Like they don't they don't get offended by it. They're not, intimidated by it. It's just oh, that's dope. Like you know what I mean? Like we're leveling up here. And I think that again, is why some people stay longer in the doing the work aspect, that first phase, rather than becoming the work, because they don't want to offend people and they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to have the audacity, to just be who they want to be today. Yeah, I said yes yesterday, but it's still hell no today. Like it's still,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And we get so accustomed to wanting to not, like not rock the boat or, be different or seem like we're better than other people. And it's like, it's not that. But some people, that's what they say. You can't take everybody.
Facts. Nah, facts. That is so true. That is so true. You kind of answered the question in a sense too. I said, how does your identity shift when you transition from doing to being?
Mm,
I think you kind of answered it.
yeah. I mean, in addition to that, I think it's just it becomes less work. Like it becomes less work because you are the work. It doesn't even feel like work anymore because it's just your new way of being, like, and one thing, and I know like you're not necessarily a parent or anything, but like when you hear about, people that have a kid and you think about you have a kid and it's like, dang, like less freedom, more responsibility, like people think about it in that perspective, but the person that's the parent, you know what I mean? Like they have a different capacity. Like that's my child. So I don't see it as that because it's like this is a part of me, especially like, pregnant woman or whatever the case may be, right? Like it is just now a part of me and my life and my, you know, just my being. So it doesn't become a thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. I ain't gonna say that like never as a parent have I not wished I wasn't a parent. And not really not permanently, just like need a damn break type of thing. But you get what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
it just becomes a new way of being. So I think it's really just in the perspective, more so than anything.
I like that. I like that. Well, I think that was really good. That was a very good statement. Very powerful point to really bring this whole thing home. And I think that this was a lot of value. I think that everybody got a lot of value out of this. And so I just want to say that growth doesn't happen in the usual places.
And neither do we.
Mm. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Beyond the Usual, where we don't just talk about it.
We go beyond it.
You're damn right we do. Thank you for tuning in to another episode. And oh, by the way, make sure that you follow us on all of our social media platforms. You can follow me at li-zay Anthony on TikTok, YouTube, and Fanbase and Instagram. All the same at li-zay_Anthony. And what about you?
Link below.
Link below.
Same, Kalisha Lachey. Find me everywhere. At your nearest like Target or I don't
know. Thank y'all for tuning in, and until next time, peace and progress.
Peace, y'all.